The thing about Halloween is that everyone gets to pretend they're someone else for one night. What they don't tell you is that some people wear masks all year long, and Halloween just gives them permission to take them off. My name is Greg Patterson, and I thought I knew my wife. 38 years old, district manager for a chain of family restaurants, former Golden Gloves boxer back when I had dreams bigger than making sure the fryer oil gets changed on schedule. These days, my biggest victory is getting the quarterly numbers to balance and keeping my marriage from falling apart completely. Alicia and I have been married 12 years. She's 36, still stunning in that way that makes other men look twice, and makes me wonder what the hell she's doing with a guy who counts chicken tenders for a living. We've got 2 kids, Emma, 10, and Jake, 8, and a mortgage on a 3-bedroom colonial in suburban Ohio that's slowly eating us alive. The marriage isn't dead, but it's not exactly thriving either. We have sex maybe once a month, usually after she's had 2 glasses of wine and I've managed to say something that doesn't annoy her. The bills get paid, the kids get fed, and we maintain the illusion that we're living the American dream. Most days that feels like enough. But this Halloween was different. This Halloween, the masks came off. It started with Richard's party. Richard Kellerman has been my best friend since high school, back when we both thought we'd conquer the world instead of settling for suburban mediocrity. He's an insurance adjuster now, married to Nikki, a sharp-tongued nurse who doesn't suffer fools gladly. Every year they throw this massive Halloween bash that's become the social event of our little neighborhood. "You're going as what?" I asked Alicia as she modeled her costume in our bedroom mirror. "Catwoman," she purred, running her hands down the tight black leather that hugged every curve. Susie and I decided to coordinate. Susie Martinez was Alicia's best friend, a 35-year-old schemer who'd never met a secret she couldn't weaponize. She was married to Dominic, a factory worker who spent more time at the gym than he did at home. The guy looked like Tarzan and had about the same intellectual capacity. "Let me guess," I said, adjusting my pirate costume in the mirror. "Dom's going as Tarzan? How did you know?" Alicia laughed, but there was something in her eyes I couldn't quite read. The party was in full swing when we arrived. Richard's backyard was transformed into a Halloween wonderland, complete with fog machines, strobe lights, and enough alcohol to float a small boat. The usual crowd was there, neighbors, co-workers, friends from high school, who'd never quite escaped the gravitational pull of our small town. I was nursing my second beer and watching Emma and Jake bob for apples with the other kids when I saw them. Alicia and Susie, both in identical Catwoman costumes, prowling through the party like they owned the place. And there was Dominic, all 6'3" of him, wearing nothing but a loincloth and a fake leopard print cape. Nothing says midlife crisis like getting upstaged by a guy in a loincloth, I muttered to myself. What was that? Richard appeared at my elbow, dressed as a vampire. "Just admiring the scenery," I said, nodding toward the trio. Richard followed my gaze and frowned. "Those 3 have been thick as thieves lately. Susie's got them all doing some kind of couples fitness thing." "Couples fitness?" "Yeah, you know. Working out together, building trust, all that new age bullshit." Richard took a swig of his beer. "Nikki thinks it's stupid. Says if people need to work out together to trust each other, they've got bigger problems." I watched as Dominic demonstrated some kind of stretching exercise to Alicia, his hands lingering on her waist longer than necessary. She laughed and playfully swatted him away, but her body language said she didn't mind the attention. "Greg!" Susie appeared beside us, her Catwoman mask pushed up on her forehead. "There you are!" "We were just talking about you. All good things, I hope." "Oh, you know how it is." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We were just saying how lucky Alicia is to have such a trusting husband." Something cold settled in my stomach. Trusting? Well, you know, some men get so jealous when their wives have friends, but you're so secure. She patted my arm condescendingly. "It's refreshing." Before I could respond, she glided away, leaving me standing there with Richard, who was looking at me with concern. "You okay, man?" "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired." But I wasn't tired. I was awake, maybe for the first time in years, and what I was seeing made my blood run cold. The rest of the party passed in a blur of forced smiles and growing suspicion. I watched Alicia and Dominic dance together during the slow songs, watched them disappear into the house together to get more ice, watched Susie watch me watching them with that knowing smirk on her face. By the time we got home, I was ready to explode. But Alicia was already in bed, claiming she was exhausted from all the dancing. She fell asleep within minutes, leaving me staring at the ceiling and wondering if I was losing my mind. The next morning brought no clarity, only more questions. Alicia was up early, humming as she made breakfast, seemingly without a care in the world. "Fun party last night," I said carefully. She didn't look up from the eggs she was scrambling. "Susie and I were thinking of doing a girls' trip soon, maybe somewhere warm." "That sounds nice. When were you thinking?" "Oh, nothing definite yet. Just an idea." She served the eggs and sat down across from me, scrolling through her phone as she ate. I tried to see the screen, but she angled it away from me. "Who's texting you so early?" "Just Susie. She's sending me funny memes from last night." But when her phone buzzed again and she quickly silenced it, I caught a glimpse of the name on the screen. It wasn't Susie. It was Dom. The thing about suspicion is that once it takes root, it grows like a cancer. Every innocent interaction becomes loaded with meaning. Every smile, every laugh, every casual touch gets examined under a microscope until you're not sure what's real anymore. For the next week, I became a detective in my own home. I started noticing things I'd been blind to before. The way Alicia's face lit up when her phone buzzed. The new workout clothes she'd been buying. The fact that she'd suddenly developed an interest in going to the gym every day, sometimes twice a day. "I'm just trying to get back in shape," she said when I commented on her new fitness obsession. "Is that a crime?" "Of course not. I think it's great. Maybe I should join you sometime." The look of panic that flashed across her face lasted only a second, but I caught it. "Oh, you know how it is. Girls' time. Susie and I like to catch up while we work out. You'd be bored." "Right. Girls' time. With Tarzan." I started paying attention to the details. The way she showered immediately after coming home from the gym, even though she claimed she'd already showered there. The new perfume she'd started wearing. The fact that she'd changed her phone's passcode and now kept it face down on the nightstand. My friend Mike at work noticed my distraction during our lunch break at the sports bar down the street from my office. "You look like hell, Greg. What's eating you?" Mike Rodriguez was my assistant manager, a 42-year-old bachelor who'd never met a problem he couldn't solve with either alcohol or sarcasm. We'd been working together for 5 years, and he knew me well enough to spot when something was wrong. "Just tired," I said, pushing my burger around on my plate. "Bullshit. You've got that look." "What look?" "The look every married guy gets when he's starting to figure out his wife is screwing around." I nearly choked on my beer. Jesus, Mike. Am I wrong? I wanted to tell him he was crazy, that Alicia would never cheat, that we had a good marriage. But the words wouldn't come. "I don't know," I admitted finally. "Maybe. I hope not. You want some advice? Do I have a choice?" "Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. But don't go crazy trying to prove it. Either confront her or let it go, but don't torture yourself playing detective." Good advice. Too bad I was already too far gone to take it. That night, I decided to test my theory. When Alicia announced she was going to the gym, I waited 20 minutes and then drove over there. Her car was in the parking lot, but so was a familiar red pickup truck. Dominic's truck. I sat in my car for an hour, watching the entrance. When they finally emerged, they weren't alone. Susie was with them, but she split off immediately, heading to her own car. Alicia and Dominic stood by his truck, talking in low voices. Even from a distance, their body language was intimate. Too intimate. As I watched, Dominic reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind Alicia's ear. She didn't pull away. Instead, she smiled and said something that made him laugh. Then she got in her car and drove home, leaving me sitting there with my heart pounding and my hands shaking. When she walked through our front door 30 minutes later, she was all smiles. "Good workout?" I asked from the couch, not trusting myself to look at her. "Great. Susie's really pushing me to try new things." "I'll bet she is." If she caught the edge in my voice, she didn't show it. She kissed the top of my head and headed upstairs for her shower, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a growing certainty that my marriage was falling apart. The next few days were torture. I found myself checking her phone when she left it unattended, but she'd gotten smart about deleting messages. I started coming home at random times, hoping to catch her in a lie, but she was always where she said she'd be. It was Mrs. Klein, our 70-something neighbor with a talent for gossip and too much time on her hands, who provided the confirmation I'd been dreading. "That wife of yours sure is dedicated to her fitness routine," she said as I was getting my mail on Thursday evening. "Yeah, she's really committed." I see her leaving at odd hours sometimes. Yesterday she left at 2 in the afternoon. Said she was going to the gym, but she was all dressed up. Seemed strange for a workout. My blood turned to ice. Yesterday at 2, I'd called Alicia from work. She'd told me she was home cleaning the house. "You must be mistaken, Mrs. Klein." "Oh no, dear." I was watering my plants on the porch. Definitely saw her leave. Pretty dress too. That blue one she wore to the Hendersons' anniversary party. I thanked Mrs. Klein and went inside, my mind racing. The blue dress was definitely not gym attire. It was the dress she wore when she wanted to look sexy, the one that hugged her curves and showed just enough cleavage to drive men crazy. That night, I confronted her. "How was your day?" I asked over dinner, keeping my voice casual. "Good." Quiet. "I did some cleaning, ran a few errands." "What kind of errands?" She looked up from her plate, and I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Fear, guilt. Just the usual stuff. Grocery store, post office. "Why?" "Mrs. Klein mentioned she saw you leave around 2, said you looked dressed up." The pause was barely perceptible, but I caught it. "Oh, that. I had to drop something off at Susie's. I'd already gotten dressed for my workout later, so I threw a dress over my gym clothes. You know how judgmental she can be about appearances. It was a good lie. Quick, plausible, just detailed enough to be believable. If I hadn't been looking for it, I might have bought it." "Makes sense," I said, and went back to eating. But inside, I was screaming. The breaking point came on a Friday night 2 weeks later. Alicia announced that she and Susie were planning a girls' weekend in Chicago. "When?" I asked, though I was already dreading the answer. "Next weekend." Susie found this great spa package deal. "We really need some time to decompress." "That sounds expensive." "It's not that bad. Besides, when's the last time I did something just for me?" She had a point. Alicia rarely asked for anything for herself. She was a good mother, a decent wife when she wasn't lying to my face, and she'd put her own dreams on hold to raise our kids. Under normal circumstances, I would have encouraged her to go. These weren't normal circumstances. "What spa?" I asked. "It's called, she fumbled for a moment. "The Serenity Spa. Downtown Chicago. I made a mental note to look it up later." "That's great, honey. You deserve it." Her smile was radiant, and for a moment, I almost forgot why I was suspicious. This was the woman I'd fallen in love with, the one who lit up a room just by walking into it, the one who'd chosen me over all the other guys who'd been chasing her, the one who was now lying to me with that same beautiful smile. After she went to bed, I did some research. The Serenity Spa existed, but when I called pretending to be checking on a reservation for my wife, they had no record of any booking for Alicia Patterson or Susie Martinez. Strike one. The next day, I decided to do some digging of my own. I called in sick to work and spent the morning following Alicia's usual routine. She dropped the kids at school, then headed to the gym. But instead of going inside, she sat in her car for 10 minutes, checking her phone. At exactly 9:30, Dominic's red pickup pulled into the lot. They met at the entrance, but instead of going into the gym, they walked to his truck and drove away together. Strike two. I followed them at a distance, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might explode. They drove to a small motel on the outskirts of town, the kind of place that rents rooms by the hour and doesn't ask questions. I watched from across the street as they went into room 237. Strike three. I sat in my car for 2 hours, staring at that door and trying to process what I was seeing. My wife of 12 years, the mother of my children, was having an affair with a muscle-bound idiot who probably couldn't spell his own name without help. But the real kicker came when they finally emerged. Susie was with them. She'd been there the whole time, which meant this wasn't just an affair, it was something else entirely. Something planned and coordinated and involving my wife's best friend as either a participant or an accomplice. I drove home in a daze, my mind reeling with possibilities. When Alicia walked through the door an hour later, glowing with post-workout endorphins, I almost lost it. "Great session today?" I asked. "Amazing." Susie really pushed me to try some new positions. Exercises. New exercises. The Freudian slip hung in the air between us like a toxic cloud. That night, I made my decision. If Alicia wanted to play games, I could play games too. But I was going to play to win. I started with social media. Alicia was addicted to Facebook and Instagram, constantly posting photos of her workouts, her meals, her girls' nights out. She had hundreds of followers who liked and commented on everything she shared. It was her window to the world, her way of maintaining the image of the perfect wife and mother. It was also her weakness. I created a fake account using the name Mark Stevens, complete with a stolen profile photo and a carefully crafted backstory. Mark was a recently divorced businessman who'd moved to Chicago for work. He was charming, successful, and just lonely enough to be sympathetic without being pathetic. Within a week, Mark had sent Alicia a friend request that she'd accepted. Within 2 weeks, he was commenting on her photos and sending her private messages, and within 3 weeks, she was responding with increasing enthusiasm. The conversations started innocently enough. Mark complimented her workout photos, asked about her fitness routine, shared stories about his own struggles with staying in shape after his divorce. But gradually, the tone became more intimate. "Your husband is a lucky man," Mark wrote after she posted a photo from date night. "Thank you," she replied. "Though sometimes I wonder if he still sees me that way. Any man who doesn't appreciate a woman like you is a fool. You're sweet. Greg's a good guy, but he's so focused on work lately. Sometimes I feel invisible." And there it was, the crack in the facade that I could exploit. Over the next few days, Mark became Alicia's confidant. She told him about her marriage, her frustrations, her dreams of something more exciting than suburban motherhood. She shared things with this stranger that she'd never shared with me, her actual husband. "I've been thinking about your situation," Mark wrote. "Have you ever considered that maybe you deserve better?" "What do you mean?" Life's short. If you're not happy, maybe it's time to make some changes." "I have kids. I can't just throw away my marriage." "I'm not talking about throwing anything away. I'm talking about finding yourself again. Remember who you were before you became someone's wife and someone's mother." It was manipulative as hell, and it worked perfectly. Within days, Alicia was sharing more intimate details about her marriage, her desires, her growing sense that she was missing out on something. She also started sharing details about her girls' trips and her workout sessions with increasing boldness. She was practically confessing to the affair, but she thought she was talking to a stranger who would never judge her. She had no idea she was talking to me. The final piece of the puzzle came when she mentioned the Chicago trip. "I'm going away this weekend," she wrote to Mark. "A girls' trip with my best friend. I'm really looking forward to getting away from everything." "That sounds wonderful. Where are you staying?" "The Palmer House." Susie booked us a suite. The Palmer House was a 5-star hotel, definitely not the budget spa weekend she'd described to me. I did some quick math and realized there was no way Susie could afford a suite there on her husband's factory worker salary, unless someone else was paying for it. I spent the rest of the week preparing for the weekend, making plans that would either confirm my suspicions or destroy my marriage completely. Either way, I was done living in limbo. Friday night, as Alicia packed her bags for Chicago, I watched her choose her outfits carefully. Sexy lingerie, designer dresses, shoes that cost more than my monthly car payment. This wasn't the wardrobe of a woman planning to spend the weekend at a spa with her girlfriend. "Have fun," I said, as she kissed me goodbye. "I'll miss you." "I'll miss you too," she lied, and for a moment, I almost believed her. After she left, I put my own plan into motion. I'd booked myself a room at the Palmer House under Mark Stevens' name, using a credit card I'd opened specifically for this purpose. If Alicia was going to Chicago to meet Dominic, I was going to be there to witness it. And if she wasn't, well, then I'd have some serious apologizing to do. But somehow, I didn't think that was going to be necessary. The Palmer House lobby was exactly what I'd expected from a 5-star hotel. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and the kind of understated elegance that whispered old money. I checked in under my fake identity, got my room key, and settled in to wait. I didn't have to wait long. At 6:30 p.m., I spotted Alicia and Susie emerging from the elevator, dressed to kill and heading for the hotel bar. They'd traded their suburban mom uniforms for designer dresses and heels that added 3 inches to their height. They looked like they were hunting, and I had a pretty good idea what they were after. I followed at a distance, taking a seat at the far end of the bar where I could watch them without being seen. They ordered expensive cocktails and scanned the room like predators looking for prey. But they weren't picking up random men. They were waiting for someone specific. Dominic arrived 20 minutes later, and he wasn't alone. He had another guy with him, someone I didn't recognize. Tall, dark hair, expensive suit. They joined the women at their table, and from their body language, this wasn't their first meeting. I ordered another drink and settled in to watch the show. What I saw made my stomach turn. Alicia was all over the stranger, laughing at his jokes, touching his arm, leaning in close when he whispered in her ear. Meanwhile, Susie was practically sitting in Dominic's lap, her hand resting on his thigh in a way that left no doubt about their relationship. But it was the easy familiarity between all 4 of them that really got to me. This wasn't a new thing. They'd done this before, probably many times. The whole setup reeked of routine, of a well-practiced deception that had been going on for months, maybe years. I pulled out my phone and started taking pictures. The lighting wasn't great, but I got enough shots to document what was happening. Alicia kissing the stranger, Susie's hand disappearing under the table, all 4 of them laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. Like they weren't destroying families. After an hour of this performance, they headed upstairs. I waited 5 minutes, then followed. The elevator stopped at the 15th floor, and I watched from around the corner as they disappeared into a suite at the end of the hall. I stood there for a long moment, staring at that door and trying to process what I'd just witnessed. My wife wasn't just having an affair, she was part of some kind of swinging arrangement, a regular thing that involved her best friend and God knows who else. The betrayal was complete, but somehow I felt strangely calm. The uncertainty was over. The questions had been answered. Now I could move on to the next phase of my plan. I went back to my room and started making phone calls. The first call was to Richard. "Greg? What's up, man? It's kind of late. I need a favor, and I need you to not ask questions." "Okay? What kind of favor?" "I need you to post something on Facebook for me, something that's going to cause some drama." "Jesus, Greg. What's going on?" I can't explain right now, but I will soon. Can you do this for me or not? There was a pause. Yeah, okay. What do you want me to post? I gave him the details and hung up. The next call was to Mike. This better be good, Patterson. I was about to get lucky. I need you to cover for me on Monday. Tell corporate I had a family emergency. What kind of family emergency? The kind that ends with me either divorced or in jail. Shit. You found out about Alicia? You knew? I suspected. The whole neighborhood suspected. You were the only one who didn't see it. That stung, but I pushed the pain aside. I'd deal with my wounded pride later. Can you cover for me or not? Yeah, I got you. But Greg, whatever you're planning, don't do anything stupid. Too late for that. The third call was to a lawyer I'd found online, one who specialized in divorce cases and had a reputation for playing hardball. Mr. Patterson? It's rather late for a consultation. I know, and I'm sorry. But I'm in Chicago right now, watching my wife cheat on me, and I need to know what my options are. I see. And you have evidence of this infidelity? Photos, videos, and about 6 months' worth of lies I can document? Good. Ohio is a no-fault divorce state, but evidence of adultery can still impact custody and asset division. How soon can you come in to see me? Tuesday morning? I'll make time. And Mr. Patterson? Don't confront your wife until we've had a chance to talk. Emotional decisions made in the heat of the moment rarely work out well in court. More good advice that I was probably going to ignore. I spent the rest of the weekend documenting everything I could. I followed them to expensive restaurants, exclusive clubs, and back to their hotel suite. I took pictures, made notes, and built a timeline that would hold up in court. But the real masterstroke came on Sunday morning. I'd been monitoring Alicia's social media accounts, and I noticed she'd posted several photos from the trip. Pictures of her and Susie at the spa, which they'd apparently visited for exactly 1 hour, just long enough to maintain the cover story. Shots of their hotel room, even a selfie from the hotel bar. What she didn't know was that I had access to her Instagram account. She'd given me her password years ago when she'd asked me to post something for her, and she'd never changed it. I waited until they were at brunch, then I logged into her account and started posting. The first post was a photo I'd taken of her kissing the stranger at the bar, with the caption, "When the cat's away, the mouse will play. Biki, living the best life. Sorry, not sorry." The second was a screenshot of one of her conversations with Mark Stevens, where she'd complained about our marriage and hinted at her extracurricular activities. The third was a group photo of all 4 of them at dinner, with the caption, "Double date night in Chicago. Some secrets are too fun to keep. Bosh, swinging life." What Heaps doesn't know. I posted them with 10-minute intervals, then sat back and watched the chaos unfold. The first comments appeared within minutes. Friends and family members expressing shock, confusion, and outrage. Her sister called her a slut. Her mother demanded an explanation. Our neighbors started sharing the posts, spreading the drama throughout our entire social circle. By the time Alicia realized what had happened and deleted the posts, they'd already been screenshot and shared dozens of times. The damage was done, and there was no taking it back. My phone started ringing almost immediately. Alicia's name appeared on the screen, and I let it go to voicemail. She called 6 more times before finally leaving a message. "Greg, I don't know what's happening, but someone hacked my Instagram account. Those posts aren't real. I can explain everything. Please call me back." I deleted the message without listening to the rest. The next call was from Susie. "Greg, you bastard, what did you do?" "I didn't do anything, Susie." "Your friend Alicia apparently decided to share her Chicago adventures with the world. You know damn well she didn't post those photos. This is some kind of sick revenge fantasy." "Is it?" "Because those photos look pretty real to me. That's definitely Alicia kissing some random guy in a hotel bar. You followed us here?" "I didn't have to follow you anywhere. You posted the evidence yourself. She hung up on me, but the damage was done. She'd just confirmed that the photos were real, and I'd recorded the conversation. I checked out of the hotel and drove home, leaving them to deal with the fallout on their own. By the time I pulled into my driveway, my phone had 37 missed calls and over 100 text messages. I ignored them all and went inside to wait. Alicia came home Sunday night like a tornado, slamming doors and throwing her suitcase down with enough force to wake the kids. I was sitting in the living room calmly reading a book when she stormed in. "What the hell did you do?" she screamed. "I'm reading," I said without looking up. "It's a good book. You should try it sometime. It's called How to Save Your Marriage Before It's Too Late. I got it from the library. Don't you dare act innocent with me. You hacked my Instagram account." "Did I?" "That's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof?" She stared at me, her face flushed with rage and something else, fear maybe, or guilt. "Those photos. They're not what they look like." "Really?" "Because they look like photos of my wife cheating on me in Chicago. But hey, maybe I'm misinterpreting things. Maybe that guy you were kissing was just helping you with your breathing exercises." "Greg, please." "Let me explain." "I'm listening." She sat down across from me, and for a moment she looked like the woman I'd married. Vulnerable, scared, human. Then she opened her mouth and ruined it. "It was just a misunderstanding. Susie and I met these guys at the bar and they were buying us drinks. I had too much to drink, and I made a mistake. It didn't mean anything." "Just a kiss, then? Nothing more?" "Nothing more. I swear." "And the hotel room? What were you doing up there for 3 hours?" Her face went pale. "How do you—" "We were just talking, all 4 of us. It was innocent." "Innocent. Right." I set down my book and looked at her directly for the first time since she'd walked in. "Alicia, I've been watching you lie to me for months. I know about Dominic. I know about the motel. I know about the fake gym sessions and the made-up errands and the secret phone calls. I know everything." The silence stretched between us like a chasm. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "How long have you known?" "Long enough to document everything. Long enough to talk to a lawyer. Long enough to make sure that when this marriage ends, I get custody of our kids. Greg, please. I know I made mistakes, but we can work through this. I love you." "No, you don't. You love the security I provide. You love the house and the lifestyle and the respectability, but you don't love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have spent the last year fucking Dominic Martinez in cheap motels." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "It's not like that." "Then what is it like? Explain it to me. Make me understand how the woman I married, the mother of my children, turned into someone who lies as easily as breathing." "I felt trapped," she said, and for the first time, I heard something real in her voice. "I felt like I was disappearing. Like I was just Greg's wife and Emma and Jake's mom, but never just Alicia. I needed to feel alive again." "So you decided to feel alive with Dominic Martinez? A guy who probably thinks foreplay is flexing his biceps. It wasn't supposed to happen. It just did. And once it started, I couldn't stop. Susie said it was natural, that lots of couples go through this. She said as long as you didn't know, it wasn't really hurting anyone." Susie said, "Of course she did. Let me guess. This whole thing was her idea." Alicia's silence was answer enough. "She set it up, didn't she? The gym membership, the workout sessions, the introduction to Dominic. She orchestrated the whole thing." "It wasn't like that." "Wasn't it?" "Think about it, Alicia. When did this all start?" "Right after you and Susie had that big fight about something. What was it? And then suddenly you were best friends again and she was introducing you to her new fitness routine." I saw the realization dawn in her eyes. The pieces clicking together in a way she'd never considered before. "She wouldn't. Susie's my friend. Susie's a manipulator. And you were her target. Why would she do that?" I'd been wondering the same thing, and I thought I had the answer. But I wanted to hear it from her. You tell me. What happened between you two? What was that fight about? It was stupid. Ancient history. Tell me anyway. She sighed, suddenly looking older than her 36 years. It was about college. About something that happened 20 years ago. She brought up that time when I got the scholarship she wanted. The one to Northwestern. She said I only got it because the committee thought I was prettier, that I'd slept with Professor Morrison to get his recommendation. Did you? No! Of course not. But she never believed me. She said I'd always had everything handed to me because of my looks, that I'd never had to work for anything. We fought about it, said some terrible things to each other. I thought we'd worked past it. But she didn't. She's been carrying that grudge for 20 years, waiting for the right moment to get her revenge. That's crazy. Is it? Think about it. She destroys your marriage, ruins your reputation, turns you into the neighborhood pariah. And she gets to watch it all happen while pretending to be your best friend. It's actually pretty brilliant. The color drained from Alicia's face as the full scope of Susie's manipulation became clear. Oh my God, what have I done? You've destroyed our marriage. You've humiliated our children. You've thrown away 12 years of building a life together for some cheap thrills with a guy who's probably already moved on to his next conquest. I can fix this. I can make it right. How? How do you fix the fact that half the neighborhood saw those photos? How do you fix the fact that our kids are going to go to school tomorrow and face questions about why mommy was kissing another man? How do you fix the fact that I can never trust you again? She started crying then, big ugly sobs that shook her whole body. A part of me wanted to comfort her, to hold her and tell her everything would be okay. But that part was getting smaller every minute. I'm filing for divorce, I said quietly. I'm asking for full custody of the kids. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you really are. Greg, please. Don't do this. Think about Emma and Jake. I am thinking about them. That's why I'm getting them away from you. You can't do this. I won't let you. You don't have a choice. I have photos, videos, documented lies, and a paper trail going back months. I have your own words admitting to the affair. And now, thanks to your little Chicago adventure, I have a public record of your infidelity that half the town has already seen. I stood up and headed for the stairs. Where are you going? To pack. I'm staying at Richard's until I can find my own place. What about the kids? What about them? You should have thought about that before you decided to become the neighborhood entertainment. I was halfway up the stairs when she called after me. This isn't over, Greg. I'll fight you. I'll tell everyone you're an abusive husband that you drove me to this. I turned around and smiled at her, and she actually took a step back. Go ahead. Try it. But remember, I have recordings of our conversations, including the one where you admitted to the affair. I have witnesses who can testify to your behavior. And I have a very good lawyer who specializes in cases exactly like this one. You bastard. Maybe. But I'm a bastard who's about to be free. I went upstairs and packed a bag, listening to her sob in the living room below. When I came back down, she was on the phone with someone, speaking in urgent whispers. Probably Susie, trying to coordinate their damage control strategy. Too little, too late. I stopped at the front door and looked back at her one last time. For what it's worth, I really did love you. I would have done anything for you, given you anything you wanted. All you had to do was ask. Greg, wait. But I was already walking away, and I didn't look back. 6 months later, I was sitting in my new apartment, reading the final divorce decree, and marveling at how much my life had changed. The legal proceedings had been swift and brutal, exactly as my lawyer had promised. Alicia's public humiliation and documented infidelity had made the case a slam dunk. I got full custody of Emma and Jake, with Alicia getting supervised visitation every other weekend. I got the house, which I promptly sold and split the proceeds with her, keeping enough for a down payment on a smaller place closer to the kids' schools. I got to keep my dignity and my reputation intact. Alicia got to keep her shame. The social fallout had been swift and merciless. Our neighborhood social circle, which had once revolved around couples' dinners and backyard barbecues, had fractured along predictable lines. Most people sided with me, the betrayed husband who'd been publicly humiliated by his cheating wife. A few tried to remain neutral, but neutrality was impossible when the evidence was so overwhelming. Alicia had been forced to move back in with her parents, a devastating blow to a woman who'd spent her adult life cultivating an image of independence and success. She'd lost most of her friends, her social standing, and her children's respect. Emma, now 11 and old enough to understand what had happened, barely spoke to her mother during their court-mandated visits. But the real satisfaction came from watching Susie's carefully constructed world collapse. It turned out that Dominic hadn't been her only extracurricular activity. When their marriage imploded in the wake of the Chicago photos, several other women came forward with stories of their own encounters with the charming Susie Martinez. She'd been running a sophisticated operation, introducing bored housewives to willing partners and taking a cut of whatever money changed hands. She wasn't just a manipulator. She was a pimp. The revelation destroyed what was left of her reputation and led to criminal charges for promoting prostitution. She was currently serving 18 months in county jail, her dreams of social climbing permanently derailed. Dominic had fared slightly better if you could call losing his job, his wife, his house, and his reputation better. He'd moved back to his hometown in Pennsylvania, where presumably the local women hadn't yet heard about his Chicago adventures. As for me, I was doing surprisingly well. The kids had adjusted to our new living situation better than I'd expected. Emma had even thanked me for getting rid of Mom's drama, a comment that was both heartbreaking and satisfying. I'd been promoted at work, partly because my boss admired how I'd handled the divorce, and partly because I was throwing myself into my career with renewed focus. I'd started dating again, nothing serious, but it felt good to be wanted by women who weren't lying to me. The doorbell rang, interrupting my thoughts. I opened it to find Richard standing there with a bottle of whiskey and a grin. "Celebrating?" he asked, holding up the bottle. "Something like that. Come on in." We sat in my living room, drinking and talking about everything and nothing. Richard had been my rock through the whole ordeal, providing a couch to sleep on, a shoulder to lean on, and a witness to testify to Alicia's behavior during the divorce proceedings. "You know," he said after his third drink, "I have to admit something." "What's that?" "I never liked Alicia. I mean, she was beautiful and charming and all that, but there was something about her that always seemed fake. Like she was playing a role. Why didn't you ever say anything?" "What was I going to say?" "Hey, Greg, I think your wife is a sociopath." "You would have punched me in the face." "Probably. But I'm glad it's over. You deserve better than someone who treats you like a meal ticket." "Thanks, man. That means a lot." We drank in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sun set through my apartment windows. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was honest. No more lies, no more deception, no more wondering if the woman sleeping next to me was dreaming about someone else. "So what's next?" Richard asked. "I don't know. Keep working, keep being a dad. Maybe find someone who actually wants to be with me instead of just using me for security." "Sounds like a plan." My phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it and smiled. "What's that about?" Richard asked. "It's from Emma. She wants to know if she can have friends over for a sleepover this weekend. That's good, right? She's making friends, settling in. Yeah, it's really good." I looked around my small apartment with its secondhand furniture and bare walls and felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Contentment. It wasn't much, but it was mine. No lies, no drama, no wondering what secrets were being kept from me. Just honesty, finally. The phone rang, and I saw Alicia's name on the screen. I let it go to voicemail, as I had for the last 6 months. Whatever she wanted to say, I didn't need to hear it. That chapter of my life was over. "Don't you want to know what she's calling about?" Richard asked. "Not really. Probably wants to change her visitation schedule or ask for more money. The usual post-divorce drama." "You don't feel bad for her, even a little?" I thought about it for a moment. Did I feel bad for the woman who'd lied to me for months, cheated on me with my neighbor, humiliated me in front of our entire social circle, and tried to manipulate our children against me? "No," I said finally. "I really don't." And I meant it. The sun finished setting, painting my apartment in shades of orange and gold. Tomorrow, Emma and Jake would come home from school and tell me about their day. This weekend, Emma would have her sleepover, and Jake would probably want to work on his model airplane. Next week, I had a date with a woman I'd met at the grocery store, a divorced teacher who seemed refreshingly honest about her own flaws and mistakes. It was a simple life, maybe even a boring one. But it was real, and after years of living in a fantasy constructed by lies and manipulation, real felt pretty damn good. I raised my glass to Richard and smiled. "To new beginnings," I said. "To new beginnings," he agreed. We drank, and for the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt genuinely happy. Outside, Halloween decorations were starting to appear in windows and on porches. Jack-o'-lanterns, fake spider webs, plastic skeletons dancing in the evening breeze, all the traditional symbols of a holiday built around pretending to be something you're not. But I was done with masks, done with pretending, done with Halloween games that lasted all year long. I was finally just Greg Patterson, divorced dad, restaurant manager, former boxer who'd learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to play someone else's game. And that was enough.